Hello, and welcome back to the Confidential Report. Do you know the toughest thing about sharing real information on YouTube? The moment you tell the truth about things they do not want shared. They will make sure your videos barely ever see the light of day, just as they have done to this channel. If you do not believe that, explain how a page can have over 200,000 subscribers and only be seen by a little more than 2,000 people. This is what is called shadow banning. But as the few of you who still get notifications already know, we don't give up that easy. They can kill our reach, destroy our income, and still we keep on pushing. Why, you ask? Because we believe in free speech and sharing the truth you deserve to know. And we will continue to share these stories with or without YouTube. For those of you who want to help us fight the good fight, please follow the link below and donate today. With your support, the truth will continue. Now, as they say, let's get on with the show.
They say when something bad happens, you have three choices. Let it define you, destroy you, or strengthen you. Time to teach Lenny about the rabbits.
Now when it comes to sharing the truth with you. For the past 5 years, Michael from the Council of Time has given us plenty of warnings about future Earth-changing events. From claims that the Earth was about to see a large amount of solar flare activity, to claims that the Earth's temperatures will continue to rise to the point of breaking all past high temperature records. For those of you keeping score, to this day, Michael has not been wrong yet.
There is a massive heat wave from the Midwest to the Northeast starting today, and millions are facing life-threatening, potentially record-breaking temperatures.
It's going to be a hot one today, and already the schools are getting prepared.
5:03, and this heat wave is certainly a challenge, especially for people who work outside. Fox 43's James Corrigan spoke to one business owner and a federal official on how to keep outdoor employees safe in the extreme heat.
Well, we are not the only ones facing scorching temperatures today. As far north as the Canadian border, it will feel like 100 degrees, while in the west, wildfires have turned deadly. Here's ABC's Rhiannon Alley.
They've never seen this before. The National Weather Service in Caribou, Maine, near the Canadian border, has issued its first ever excessive heat warning. The heat index is expected to hit 105 degrees today.
What exactly is happening when we hear a heat dome is in place?
Well, it is really the same thing that we see when we see extreme heat, and that's pretty much high pressure. It's sinking air, and that sinking air compresses as it sinks. And that's really what ramps up these temperatures. That's exactly what's happening across the east, and that's only going to shift and strengthen over the next couple of days. So as we look over towards the northeast, you see all of those excessive heat warnings and heat advisories. You have areas like Pittsburgh that could see 5 days of record heat in a row, which would be the longest stretch. Areas like Chicago saw record high temperatures yesterday. And you're looking at this, you're thinking mid-90s, that's nothing. Well, for them, it's really early in the season. Numbers like this are extreme, and they don't happen until late July or August. So again, early in the season, and then you have infrastructures that are not quite ready for temperatures that are this high.
Next, I also wanted to quickly address the extreme heat wave that we are seeing across the country. We know that extreme heat can be dangerous, which is especially true for older adults and people with underlying health conditions. We encourage everyone experiencing extreme temperatures this week to check in on their neighbors, drink plenty of water, and look for cooling centers if needed. Stay alert. Listen to local officials and weather alerts, and visit heat.gov for more information on how to stay safe.
Now, as Earth's magnetosphere continues to fail the Earth at an alarming rate, with seemingly no end in sight, This may be a good time to really understand just how important Earth's magnetosphere really is to the life on this planet. The magnetosphere is that area of space around the planet that is controlled by the planet's magnetic field. The shape of the Earth's magnetosphere is the direct result of being blasted by solar winds.
The solar wind is primarily composed of protons and electrons, charged particles streaming out from the sun. Some of those particles have very high energies, radiation energies, and they can damage astronauts and spacecraft.
The solar wind compresses its sunward side to a distance of only 6 to 10 times the radius of the Earth. A supersonic shock wave is created sunward of Earth, called the bow shock. Most of the solar wind particles are heated and slowed at the bow shock and detour around the Earth. The Earth's magnetosphere is a highly dynamic structure that responds dramatically to solar variations, such as solar storms and solar flares. But now, our magnetosphere is failing.
A 100 microtesla wave of radiation that would destroy our ozone layer, killing every living organism on the planet.
According to Michael from the Council of Time, things are getting bad fast.
With a weakening of our atmosphere, the Earth can burn up. Our magnetosphere redirects the solar winds in a very specific way. But what we have is a fluctuating magnetosphere, which means certain parts of Earth is getting worse, and it's getting worse, and it's getting worse. And there are certain parts of Earth that have no protection at certain times, and it's just happening all over the place.
As Earth begins to feel the effects of these superheated particles bombarding the surface, the first thing to go will surely be our electrical grids.
So when you're dealing with electronics is very susceptible to current, right? Not necessarily voltage, but current. And some of the new advancements that they put in the power lines that they spent 8 years upgrading, trying to make them EMP proof, right? They also came with a type of flaw, and it's called jump current. So you can have current held in specific components that will keep it there in discharge, given the proper, external magnetic force. In other words, how they built certain components, all you need is a large magnetic force outside of it, and it causes it to be just like a capacitor. And it will discharge, which means if the sun fluctuates a bit too much, or if our magnetosphere fluctuates a bit too much, you've already got that electric potential there. And the magnetic buildup causes current to flow in those wires, and then it's going to overload. What protects us from an EMP is your front door. The transformer and certain components they built to transmit power to the customer's home is on the inside of your house. So they can stop the influx of voltage from the transformer in a certain way. But what I'm talking about is the electric potential built up that goes right to the customer's home. And there's nothing blocking it. And when that happens, you're going to have more current means your wires are going to have a higher temperature. And I'm really worried about Texas. I'm so worried about Texas because they have put up, their grid is twice as, has more clients out there. And so they bought in quite a bit of steel, quite a bit of copper and everything else when they were running these wires to new facilities.
In Texas, more than 3 million households still without power, heat, and for many running water for a third day, creating dangerous conditions in the Dallas area where temperatures aren't expected to get above freezing today at all. The power grid there buckling under the pressure of this deadly cold snap.
Joe Biden and Democrats better think twice about unleashing the Green New Deal on the whole country. Just take a look at what's happening in Texas. The state hit with massive power outages from a giant winter storm that's hammering most of the country. 4 million people in the state are in the dark and don't have heat. The cold crippling Texas's power grid, and part of the reason why is because wind turbines are frozen. Half of the state's wind power capacity was reportedly offline. Former Energy Secretary Rick Perry says what's happening in his home state could be a sign of things to come.
And so you have all these potential points of breakdown which raises, that potential of fire. And I'm extremely worried about Texas because they have gas and oil underneath the ground, right? I know that there was a presidential discussion about releasing all that, but that takes at least a year. And during that process, things fall apart. And we haven't even seen the hot temperatures yet. People are going to see temperatures of it. Now, this is going to sound crazy. You watch, 168 degrees this year. We had two rolling fronts that came through, and they heated up the ground so much. It's so bad that the National Weather Service, if somebody goes, if some of these tech people, they pull some of the code from some of these websites, they can see numbers in some of the JavaScript and some of the scripts that they write, and they depreciate the temperatures about 3 to 4 times, right, to give a consistent temperature, because they don't want to report some of these hot spots on Earth. They're being picked up from satellite. It is unbelievable. It changed some of the thermal graphics that they normally read in the colors. They had to change all of that because they picked up hot spots that were just simply white, right? And you can't get data if something's totally white. And so what they had to do was scale back the readings so they could actually account for some of these new hot temperatures that we have. And they have a warning out for potential fires this entire year. They even gave the name Duratio to explain some of the phenomena that's happening. But they'll always try to normalize some of these new conditions, right? But we shouldn't see it as such. But they will understand that conditions are degrading on the Earth. If anything goes on the internet, don't think it's the actual number from the instrument itself. Those numbers are going to be scrubbed, sterilized, and everything else is going to happen to those numbers before anybody can read them, because they're not going to have the public in panic. The public cannot comprehend, right, anything outside of what the textbooks say. They have a job to keep everything within margins of those textbooks. They have a job. But if you have your own thermometer, right, all they have to do is stick it on top of their house. And when they see their shingle temperature go up to their, it's outrageous already. The radiation from the sun can heat things up so hot. All you need is a thermometer, and you can see it yourselves. I would suggest getting some of the old ones with the mercury in them. That works really good, so long as we have a consistent gravitational pull. But yeah, they're really telling. Some of the new rad sensors out there, they've been calibrated. And most of these things are digital now. So guess what? If they want your numbers to be lower, they just send a signal out. The numbers you read on whatever device you have are going to be a bit lower than what they normally are. And those who know, they're not going to see a word. They're just not going to see a word.
As the magnetic pole continues to shift and the Planet X system continues its approach, the question of humanity's future here on Earth is a more serious question than most people would like to believe.
And what can't be stressed enough is all these things people are going to see. It's almost a trial of flesh. And if a person can subdue their flesh now, work on that now, God has given us a lifetime. If they can work on that now, they won't have that issue.
This has been The Confidential Report. For even more stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel today. And please show your support by clicking the like button on this video. For even more stories and news you deserve to know the truth about, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching The Confidential Report.